And this is game three, and Fabi has been obliterating every single opponent. Out of the 16 matches he's played in Rapid, he has gotten 14 points. That's just absolutely insane. He's won against every single person. You like get 2 points every game, so every win, and draw like is like 1 point for Rapid, but in Blitz, like a win is for like 1 point you get, and I think draw is 0.5. So that's absolutely insane that he has 14 points out of 16. He's crushing everyone, and now Gukesh has to face him. But he has the white pieces, so let's see what he does. So without further ado, let's start with this game. This is going to be one epic one. E4, E5, knight to F3, knight to C6, bishop to C4, and now just bishop to C5. We go into the Juco piano. C3 by Gukesh, knight to F6, D3 by Gukesh, D6, which is castles, H6, and rook to E1. And this game is absolutely going to show you how much these absolutely top class grandmasters, how much they are absolutely they are so insanely prepped that it's just so difficult to beat them. Castles h3, a5, knight bd2, a4, and just going for this bishop to b5, and bishop to d7, knight to f1, and just knight to e7. And now comes this bishop caps on d7. Like Gukesh maybe just prepared this, but this is also like most likely, this is what you play, simply because of the fact that once this comes, your just bishop is going to be trapped, so you have to be careful about that. Knight captures, and d4 now, bishop to b6, but just this knight to g3 was played, and Fabi in this position plays the absolute best engine move, which is this f5, opening up the rook. Bishop is already on this diagonal. Maybe somewhere along the line, you can just get the knight as well. Somewhere that knight will jump here. That this knight is very strong as well. Also help out, somewhere along the line here as well. This is just such a beautiful position, such a beautiful move. I mean, this is so amazing. But by the way, this was not even the preparation I was talking about, because here, let's say, in this position, the best move for you is just to capture. Knight captures on f5 is the only move in this position that does not lose. Knight captures, you play e captures, rook captures, and now just go for bishop to e3. E captures, bishop captures, queen to f8, queen to c2, but now just comes this rook to f4, bishop captures on e6, you trade everything, and now after rook to e2, you try and double up here, but first, black is asking for it, so you just trade queens, and now once you get this double up, like the game is fine. But here after queen to d3, here there is a very very beautiful queen to d3 does not work. Here f5, you pick queen to d3, it's lost. But I'm going to ask you to pause the video and try and find out the only winning move in this position. Just remember the structure. There is a very beautiful move that can come here, and congratulations to everyone who's able to find this move. And the move is this beautiful d5. And if you play d5 and you get this, you better run because there is not much you can do, because the sequence I'm about to show you here is uh, it's just so insane. This is so complicated. You cannot calculate everything in a rapid game, definitely not. E captures, you played on d5, e4 now. So you might be thinking, I'm just losing a piece, why not do it with 3 extra pawns? If you go for knight captures, pawn captures, queen captures, yes, you have enough, but only temporarily, simply because of the fact that your bishop and the rook are not that much into the game. You've sacrificed a piece for some momentum. Yes, this is being threatened, but once that moves anywhere, then you have to understand that there is not much you can do, because, well, how do you start an attack? What do? You have a check, you're threatening to pick up the knight, but if as soon as that is defended, there is not much to do. So that's that's the entire point about this. Yes, this bishop is locked up, and there are some ideas of like c4, c5, but other than that, there is not too much in this position. And once black consolidates, black is still better in this position. So here after e4, you have to understand queen to c4 is the only move that gives you some sort of a playing advantage, not playing advantage, but playing in this position, because here after rook to f7, blocking this check, and also blocking this, winning a piece. So now you go for knight to d2, but just knight to f6. Now there is no way for you to defend this pawn, so you have to go back, queen to e2, but just knight captures. And after knight to c4, you just go here, knight captures, and now just going for knight to h5, but you get this queen jumping in, and now there is too much pressure here. King to h2, you play this knight to d5, knight to e2. Look at these knights. They're absolute monsters. These pawns are pushing in. Look, rook can double up on the f file. Queen is already targeting this. How do you even defend in this position? This is so bad. And in a rapid game, when you have low time on the clock, this is not working out. Just a few more moves later, you'll see that the position absolutely crumbling apart, and there is not much you can do. Even if you trade queens here, still black is better. And I mean, you cannot survive this. Queen to d3, but not going for f4. Fabi not going for this, but Fabi went for f4 in this position. And I think that's the only move that saved Gukesh, because hereafter, knight to f1, king to h8, and instead of this king to h8, you could in this position actually go for a very beautiful line with g5. But I mean, we have calculated so much here. b4, you play a captures, queen to b1, rook captures, rook capture, and that comes with a check, so the king needs to move. But here after bishop to b2, now you can see that the position will be really really bad, because after knight to c4, h5, you play h4, but this is coming. King can just move out of the way. All of this can come in, and I mean, it's not even a good position to have. I'm not going to calculate everything, because it's just crazy engine lines, you cannot calculate everything. But here you can see that the position is so complicated that it's like very difficult for Gukesh to do anything in this position, because after queen to d3, f4 was played, now knight to f1, king to h8, but after this knight 1 to h2, you play knight to g6 and bishop to d2, c5. Now c5 was a beautiful move by Fabi, simply because of the fact it gives Gukesh the, like, I'm throwing the torch to you, you play, you tell me what you want to do, you tell me how you want me to play this position. I have analyzed everything at home. It's like that's what Fabi is saying to Gukesh right now, because if you go here, knight captures, knight captures, knight captures, and this knight is there to stay. There is nothing you can do. You cannot even capture, because that is being defended. There is nothing in this position that you can do. It comes with an attack on the queen. Queen moves back, and you have to understand that slowly but surely, this knight, whenever it will move, there will be so many ideas there in the position, and it's just very difficult to do anything. Here, just d captures was played. D captures is not the best move. You want to push that pawn to d5, simply because of the fact that once this comes, this is a beautiful pawn sacrifice in this position, because if you capture this, then you have to understand this bishop gets alive, rook comes into the game with some tempos, and this is very very good, because knight can also jump in. If you trade, then just queen captures, and also that will come with an attack. So I mean, it's a very very amazing position for Fabi that Fabi has created. It's a masterpiece. But here after c5, d captures, Gukesh goes for, because he thinks that d5 must be just not good. But after knight captures on c5, queen to c2 and queen to c7, and let's see where this goes. This is absolutely insane and a beautiful masterpiece wherever this way goes. And here in this position, Gukesh goes for rook a d1. We have rook f to d8 and just rook to e2. And now we have queen to f7. There are a lot of ideas in this position. You have to be very much careful. Pawn pushing, knight getting in the positions. You can you could even play some moves like queen going here, knight getting here, even pushing the pawn. I mean, when the time comes, it's just insane position. Fabi is better, but Gukesh has to defend the entire position. We have c4, but now just comes knight to e7, and I think in the entire event there is only one person who can defend this well, and that is absolutely Gukesh. From coming to absolutely winning positions to making Magnus bang the table, he can do this, but he has to be very very precise while doing it. Knight to e1 was played by Gukesh, but just knight to c6, and now he have knight h2 f3, but now just king to h7, and this king to h7 is like a waiting move, saying like, what are you going to do, how are you going to get your pieces intact? All of my pieces are on absolutely amazing squares, covering all of your pieces, and also I'm just threatening to play g5, getting the rook here, and pushing all those pawns all the way. What are you doing in this position? Just knight to d3 was played by Gukesh. That's not a good move, but that's a move that maybe, just maybe, gives Gukesh that just one chance where he's able to just bounce back in the game. Here g5 was played immediately by Fabi knew that he's winning, but here just knight to b4. This knight to b4 is just keeping pieces on the board and waiting for Fabi to just make one inaccuracy, just slight inaccuracy where he can pounce in, and that's exactly what he's waiting for, because here just rook to g8 was played by Fabi. He's playing precise game, and he's not backing down because he knows that he's winning. Just bishop to c3, but now it comes g4, and now how do you defend anything? If you capture, just rook captures, queen to h5, rook is coming in, everything is falling apart. The knights are covering these squares. If this knight moves, there are also possible ideas of going here. There is absolutely nothing for Gukesh in this position, but then again he fights on. He plays immediately h captures, rook captures, and now he's actually up 5 minutes, 5 minutes up than Fabi, and he takes all that time to calculate, because now you have to understand that he's down, he's -4 in this, and this is how worse the position is. But you're gonna realize what happens now, because rook captures on d6, only move in this position that gives something to white, just something to hope for. And in this position you have to go queen to h5. The idea is that after you go queen to h5, you just sacrifice here and then get the rook into the game after king captures, and that's the only move in this position that you can play. But there is just so much here going on. Fabi's down the clock as well. He has 3 minutes 48 seconds, and Gukesh has well over, well over 7.5 minutes. So that's why when you play faster, you can actually do good things. Rook a to g8 was played by Fabi, and that's not a good move. You can see his advantage going away with the engine on the left hand side. But here, after knight to d5 was played, now you can see that there are a lot of ideas. You cannot go here right now, because simply because this fork, and it's not a royal fork, it's a mega royal ultima fork. There is nothing here that you can do. There is not even a single piece, I mean not even a single huge piece that's not being hit by this knight. So you cannot go there. Now you have to wait. Rook captures on g2 was played, but you don't go anywhere else. You just go for king to f1, and now there is no check because this knight is covering the square. Bishop to g8 now. Bishop to g8 is not a good move. That bishop was hit. You were supposed to sacrifice it and get the queen into the game, but now you couldn't do that. So you're just covering that square, but you have to understand that there is a very, very beautiful move, and there is just one move in this position for Gukesh to save the game. I'm asking you to pause the video again one more time in this game and just find this move. You will love yourself if you're able to find this move, because this is just one move that saves the game, and that move is this beautiful rook captures on d8, and that's absolutely so resilient. And this is the reason why he's the world champion, because he's able to find these moves where no one thinks that he can hold this position, but he's able to find this move. And knight captures on d8, and now comes the idea, bishop captures on e5. Lot of pressure here, and you have to calculate everything. And Fabi has just 4 minutes on the clock. Gukesh has 4.5 minutes. Knight to d7, but now just king starts to run away. Either this was the best move, or either king starts to run away, and both are the moves that saves the game here. But still, Fabi's better. He has to find the right moves. He goes for the best move, which is knight to e6, just getting this knight into the game, and just just throwing that knight on your opponent's face, and I'm still better, I'm still winning. But here, just queen captures on a4, just grabbing a pawn here in the midst of all these attacks. The best was again queen to c3, just keeping an eye on everything. This is coming, so just keeping an eye on everything. That was the best move. But here, after knight to g5, now comes this knight captures on g5. Here's the blunder, here's the inaccuracy, and Gukesh pounces on it, and now this rook captures. But now you know what's coming. You have to understand that the position is better. Position is absolutely better for you, but you have to find the one move. And if you're able to find this queen captures on d7, you're going to be beating yourself for the rest of the game, simply because of the fact that now you must be thinking queen captures, and now, well, amazing, just fork and I'm just winning the game. I've just captured a piece. But no, it doesn't work like that, because now this check, this comes in, and now the game is absolutely lost for you, because now queen captures comes with a pin. There is no fork, and you have lost the game. And Gukesh was able to find out this tactic existed with just 5 seconds on the clock. That's how good he is, because he played this bishop to d4 in this position, and now the same tactic actually works, because bishop is just blocking, and now you can actually go for that and completely win the game. But just knight to e5, and now comes this queen to b3, and knight goes back, just attacking the bishop. The bishop needs to either go back or move forward. He goes for bishop to c6 here, bishop to f6 here, and attacking the rook. This is the only winning move in this position. Can you believe it? He finds it with 20 seconds on the clock. Rook to g6, but now just comes queen to c3, and queen to c3 is absolutely amazing and absolutely working here. h5 by Fabi, but h5 does not work. He was very much down on the clock. With 2 seconds he played this move, h5. It's absolutely insane. e5 is the only winning move in this position that Gukesh found out with like 20 seconds on the clock. Queen to e6, but now just comes this knight caps on f4, and now this fork is there in this position. You have to give a check. Rook to g1 check was played, king moves, and now queen to d7 check. But here you have to block with the knight, and there is no way you're going to lose this game. But here queen to d3 was played, and there is some hope for Fabi after all. Queen caps on d3, king captures, but just this rook goes here, but just king to e4. And now Fabi has to find out just one move in this position. You can pause the video right here and you can try it out. There is just one move for Fabi that saves the game. He has been an incredible attacker throughout the game with everything that he got on the table, trying to beat the world champion. But in this position, Fabi has to find the only defensive resource that Gukesh has been finding with 20 seconds on the clock. Absolute best moves, and you can try your luck here and have at it. but the move actually is this beautiful knight to d4, captures, and you might be able to hold this position, but he does not find it. He goes for h4 in this position and just completely blunders the game. Now comes f3, only winning move. You know why? Because now wherever the rook moves, you can go to rook to h2 and you're gonna pick up the h pawn, and there is nothing black can do about this. Knight to d4 played now, but it's a bit too late. Rook to h2, rook to e1 check, king captures, rook to f4 check, king moves, and now hit this. But now just comes this bishop caps on h4. It is also hitting the rook, so you have to move the rook to d1 check. And the best way for here to win this game for Gukesh is just to go for this king to e6. But instead he goes king to c5 and just loses a lot of his advantage. But again, he's still winning. He has to keep his nerves together. King to f5, but now just bishop to f6. Everything is defended here. The move that Fabi had to play in this position actually is just this rook to d4, hitting this, and there is no way you can do anything. If you try to go for there, then it doesn't work because of the fact that you can just capture this pawn and that comes with the check. So that was the idea, but he misses this. He goes for something else. What did he go for? Yeah, he went for king here, but then again it just doesn't work. Bishop to f6, but now just come rook caps on f3, king to rook to h7. Now just picking up the final pawn in black's camp. Rook to a1, rook captures, but now just b4, and those pawns are pushing forward. Rook to c2 was played, but just rook to c7, rook f to c3. Now just going after this pawn, all you have to do is just move away. King to b5, absolutely best, played with like 19 seconds on the clock. Rook to b3, but now just comes this king to a4, rook to b1, and now just going for a5. You have to be careful with moves like this. This is going to be checkmate, and you don't want to fall for something like that. King to a5, rook to a2 check, king to b5, rook to b2, and now just going for bishop to e7, giving up the e5 pawn. But now you save that pawn. Now you can just push this, and it's still not easy. King captures on e5 was played, bishop to f8, king to e4, and just rook to d7, rook to f1, bishop to g7. But now just comes this c5, rook to c1, and king to rook to d6. He's slowly but surely just pushing those pawns up. Now comes king to f5, but just c6. Now attacking the bishop, but just bishop to d4 was the best idea, but you can still go for this because your rook is under attack. Rook to c2, now going for bishop to d4, idea being that you just block it and push it away, or you could also play this and push it away. And here rook to g8, but just bishop to b6 going as planned. Rook to b8, king to a6, rook to a2 check, king to b5, and just rook to c2. But now comes this rook to h6. This endgame is so beautiful. You could analyze it for ages, and the way he's made a comeback in this game, this is the absolute reason why he's just so hard to beat, because at the time when he needs it, he finds these moves with so much down on the clock, and that's why he's able to beat his opponents every single time. King to e5, but now just comes this rook to h7. Now that pawn is being pushed. There is not much you can do about this. King to e6, rook to b7 was played. If you trade, you're lost. So he just rook to c8, bishop to c5, rook to a2, and now just rook to e7 check, king to d5, rook to d7 check, king to e6, and now just going for this rook to e7 check, king to d5, and just c7, finally pushing that. All you have to do is just get the king into the game. But now comes this rook a to a8, rook to d7 check, king to e6, rook to d6 check, king to e5, and just king to d6 as planned. Rook to g8, king to b7. Now all of this is coming, but you still cannot push because neither can you play this. You have to be very much careful. Rook a to a8, but now just b5, king to e4, b6, and now rook to g7. Now you cannot push, neither can you play this, because this would be pinned. That would be a very terrible blunder. But now in this position, Gukesh goes for this beautiful king to c6, and now you're just pushing those pawns, and there is nothing black can do about this. It was on this move, on move 89, just before reaching move 90, that Fabiano Caruana resigned the game, and from being completely winning, Gukesh was able to turn it around on his head, and he won this game spectacularly, beating the tournament leader, who's had 14 out of 16 points. Is absolutely crazy. Absolutely crazy. There is no doubt about that. It's just so amazing. This position is that it's it's absolutely amazing. This could be compared to the time when someone was also in the stream asking that, is Fabi going to bang the table? I mean, that's just besides the point. But again, great resilience by Fabi, great play by Fabi. But Gukesh, I mean, we are so proud of you. The way this game has been, it's absolutely incredible, and he's shown some of the world class resilience that he has, and won this game in a spectacular way. So yeah, thank you all for watching. I'll be coming back with games like these, so stay tuned to the channel, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you guys very, very soon. Thank you all.